Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for being here. It means a lot to me and my family that you've come to celebrate my mother's celebration of life, Marti Baum Hardesty. My mother was a woman of extraordinary heart. She devoted her life to serving others, never seeking recognition, nor did she ask for anything in return. Whether it was for family, friends, neighbors, or strangers, she's always made sure others were taken care of before herself. That was just who she was. She never gave up on anything that she set her mind to. Her strength was quiet but unwavering, and her love was never-ending. She taught me something, not just through words, but through example, what it means to live a life of compassion, determination, and grace. Today, we gather not only to mourn her passing, but to celebrate her life, a life that she touched so many, that lifted up others, and left behind a legacy of kindness and resilience. Let this be a space where we share stories, laughters, and tears. In the program, you will find an insert on which you may write a memory of Marti, or stories that you want to share of Marti, or a note to the family. These can be left at the basket at the entrance. Let us remember her not just with sadness, but with gratitude for the time that we had and the love that she gave. Thank you again for being part of the celebration, and for those that are watching online. Your presence here is a reflection of the lives that she touched and the lives that continue to surround her. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We're all here because Marti Baum Hardesty has touched our lives in one shape, form, or another. And whether that be as family, friend, work colleague, student, mentee, or patient. I actually had the privilege of working with Marti on a project over the last several years with social determinants of health. She's very passionate about it, and always looking for ways to help patients. Social drivers are negative environmental factors that will affect a patient's health. How can we find out what those are, and then finding resources to give to those patients to make them better? And Marti was really driven to make sure that happened, not only for our patients in Loma, but also in the country as well. She was part of the task force at EPIC to instill this in all of the EMRs across the country. She's looking for ways to feed the homeless, housing the homeless, feed the hungry, and give resources to those that were in need, as well as identifying victims of interpersonal violence at home. One of Marti's favorite, working with her, we shared a lot about God and our work and how does this ministry, correlate with Jesus. And one of her favorite miracles was Jesus feeding the 5,000. And she saw this work as continuing his mission here on earth. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Lord, we invite you to join us as we celebrate and honor your daughter and friend, Marti Baum Hardesty. Bless this time as we share stories, review her impact on our lives, your work, the community, children, and families she served, and the platforms and infrastructure she helped put in place that continue to enable better care for our community. We thank you for the privilege of knowing her and experiencing your touch through her care, teaching, and friendship. Like her, let us count you as our best friend and partner with you in your work. We look forward to your soon return. Even so, come quickly. Amen.
My command is this:
love each other as I have loved you.
John 15:12.
Well, you got to meet the next mini-me, Savea. That's what we call her. Well, welcome, family, friends, colleagues, and participants. Those that are listening by live streaming and being recorded with this tribute. It should be celebratory. Enough tears. This is a remembrance of one of the most unique women, at least in my life. You're all invited to our house and home after this, which will be immediately following this service. Thanks to all of you who have sent messages, text messages, letters, and so much. And a very special thanks, of course, to my children, and a special thanks to non-family members, Brooke Lawson, her best friend, and Bonnie Fandrich, who can't be here today because of an international trip. One of my friends has described life as chapters. So let's start with the first chapter. And you have to put things in perspective. The year was 1954. Dwight D. Eisenhower was our 34th president. That was 72 years ago. We now have our 47th president. There were no freeways connecting Los Angeles and San Bernardino. It took 3.5 hours on Foothill Boulevard, stoplights, to get from here to Los Angeles. Okay? You had to take the old romantic Route 66. In his 1954 State of the Union address, President Eisenhower proposed a national interstate highway system, emphasizing its importance for national defense and economy. How about this, guys? Gas costs 29 cents a gallon. Average hourly wage was $1.69. Men's income was $3,200. Women's was $1,200. An average house was around $8,000. You real estate agents out there would probably not make a lot of money. A new car was $1,500. Hey, we all could be driving new cars. A postage stamp was 3 cents. Profoundly and still affecting us today, the United States Supreme Court unanimously overruled an 1896 decision ruling that racial segregation was unconstitutional. A landmark decision in the civil rights movement that declared segregation and overturned the separate but equal doctrine from 1896. The drip coffee maker was invented. The Salk vaccine was discovered and instituted, changing millions of people's lives. Now, new chapter. But eventually, and much more important to me, and eventually to my family, was the birth of Marti Francine Baum on March 2, 1954, weighing in at a whopping 10 pounds. She shook the earth from the very beginning. She was born walking distance from here at the original Loma Sanitarium Hospital, not the university that all preceded this. It was fondly called a hospital on the hill. To the proud parents of Lloyd and Alma Baum, Dr. Baum, who was recruited to start the new dental school here on campus that sits right across this green grass. Marti was joined by her brother 2 years later, Brad, and Carla, his wife, are here. Not known to Marti or my knowledge, we overlapped here at Loma Linda for the next 3 years. Well, my dad graduated from the School of Medicine 3 years later, only to meet 22 years later on this campus, that year being 1976. And during those 22 intervening years, much happened to Marti. Next chapter. Marti's entire formative years were spent here on this small but growing town in Loma Linda. I'm told by her brother, and it sounded unfortunate, that she was born to be bossy. That trait never left her. Marti was the get-up-and-go type of woman, busy, inquisitive, working with her hands, took after her dad in many ways. Her dad was Lloyd. He was a character at the dental school. An inventor, had several patents, sometimes a curmudgeon, highly respected professor and beloved teacher at the School of Dentistry. He played a profound influence on her, and they shared many of the same qualities, and his attributes played heavily, and they both carried them on. Dedicated to teaching, academic excellence, creativity, humility, self-sacrifice, an ability to laugh easily, and importantly, to laugh at themselves and their love of Jesus. College. Well, during this time, I must say, she met Brooke during elementary school and became her lifelong friend. Okay, off to college. Finishing high school, and we in the Adventist culture call it academy. Marti moved on and traveled to Southern Missionary College in Tennessee and received her bachelor degree. And then returned to this campus where she met one of her dear friends too, Kay Waller. And in 1970, she returned to her beloved Loma University, graduating in 1979, receiving her medical degree. So our paths crossed again. She was a freshman in the medical school down here, in the original medical school buildings. First week, in the old, ancient Shryock building with a steep amphitheater, classrooms like Harvard, you would see. On the top floor was the old, cold, and sterile anatomy lab. Marti was profoundly taken over by the fumes of formaldehyde and had to leave to get breath of fresh air and went to the women's bathroom, looking over the grassy quadrangle as she told us the story, climbed up on the toilet, opened the hinged window, and looked out the window to get some fresh air, and was breathing hard, and noticed this character walking across the quadrangle. This individual had a beard, a Hawaiian shirt, shorts, flip-flops, walking across the lawn, not on the sidewalks, and that character was me. And for some reason, my appearance, my gait, I think it was the fumes, at which she looked, and a phrase she liked or used, thought it was a naughty boy. Whatever it was, it piqued her curiosity, and to make a long story short, we started our journey. At lunch in the cafeteria some days later, she found an empty seat in the student cafeteria, and sitting down next to me, the naughty boy, and introduced herself. I was interested. It blossomed us to knowing each other for over 50 years and being married over 45 years and being married August 24, 1980. Marti's life. As you may know, Marti did not live a simple life. No. Always emotionally stable, but it had twists and turns, but always positive. She made simple things complex, but so did I. So we were wonderful together. It was always interesting, and I just learned to hang on and hold on, and I know it would turn out okay. She liked to mix paints. The worst is she had a big trash can of paint and mixed all these colors and started painting, and I never knew how we'd ever match that up. It followed with joys, always led to the right place. Postgraduate years. We both finished our postgraduate residency training, hers in pediatrics, mine in surgery. And during this time, we were blessed with our first child, Ashley, our new love of our life. She stayed on as an attending physician, and I finished my residency training. And there she met some of her early and dear colleagues, which you'll be here speaking today. Then we moved to Pittsburgh to start my second residency training period. And she continued working in pediatrics, and we were blessed with our second blessing, our son Bradford. Upon finishing that residency, we moved to St. Louis. And she said, no, not more training. And I said, well, I'm a slow learner. And we supported me on all the various university hospitals. She was a teammate and really didn't complain about my long hours and meager salary. And then there was some positiveness. We were recruited back to return to her beloved Loma University, and our journey took a new chapter. She was invited to become part of the new international heart transplant team under my mentor, the world-famous Dr. Leonard Bailey, where she began to blossom, as you will hear a bit later. During this time, we were again blessed with our third child, Chelsea, with vim and vigor, developing the attitude of a last child. But sorry, child, not for long. We were invited to go, we were different. My love was traveling and international medicine. I could live out of a suitcase, but not Marti. She wanted roots. She liked tradition. She liked that. But that was okay. We meshed. You know, the good met to good. We were invited to go to China by our dear friend, the Fondricks. Bonnie was a nurse up on the oncology ward and became dear friends during this time. And Bonnie came back to nurse Marti during her last passing days and was there to the very, very end, day and night. Bonnie can't be with us. She's on an international trip. And if Bonnie, you're listening, you know how much I appreciate and love you. That's with eternal thanks. Bonnie arranged Marti to meet a little boy named Leshway, who had recently gone open heart surgery, who was an orphan. Marti immediately fell in love and destined him to be our fourth child, Derek, who you just met. The leader of the orphanage counseled Marti, and maybe another child would be a better choice because he was another naughty and mischievous boy. Well, that sealed the deal with Marti. She says, I like naughty boys. So he joined the club. Anyway, so against insurmountable odds for a permanent adoptions were illegal and rarely in China. We eventually, and only through Marti's persistence and me giving some bribes and determination, a year and a half later, we flew back to China and took Derek home as our fourth child. I must say thereafter, I refused to have Marti go on any further foreign medical mission trips, fearing that she might adopt somebody else. Glory years. This is what I called the glory years. Our children now all grew up together in the house I hope you come visit after the ceremony today. Being raised together in the same home at the same time. Believe it or not, we had one full bathroom. We had a half bathroom downstairs. Fortunately, I always got up early, so I got the hot water in the shower. Okay, again, you're invited. These were busy times. Sports, before and after school parties, 4 kids hanging out, plenty of vacations, just plain old fun. Friends and their matched age children. To name a few, the Lawson family, the Brockmans, the Collins, others, to name a few. Our children are all known, grown, highly successful in their own right. They have their own lives, their own families. We've been blessed with 5 amazing grandchildren, who you've got to see a few of them today, and a lot of them have the characteristics of their mother. Been blessed and continue to bless us. So knowing Marti, what was that like? To know Marti was to love her. We are happily married for 45 years almost. I really can't remember a major fight. We would quarrel. I mean, that's normal. But we usually settle before we retired, and we would negotiate. And I often felt like Esau. I would sell the farm, but she would win, and that's okay. As I mentioned, it wasn't always, but it was always a pot of gold at the end of each rainbow. To describe Marti, I put down these adjectives, and for you that know her, I think you would agree. Fiercely independent, kind, loving, self-deprecating, loved to laugh, and especially at herself. Humble, didn't matter who got the credit as long as the job got done. Always willing to help, genuine love of children, especially hers and her grandchildren. Community-minded, selfless, artistic, creative in so many ways. And if you come to our home today, you'll see some of that creativity. Quite beautiful, classy, elegant, quite athletic, willing to serve, led by example and action. And very important, she always made Jesus an important part of her personal life without proselytizing. Too many and not enough time to tell all these stories. The first one did, this is typical Marti, the wedding vows. Will Alexander, who was the chaplain up here and well known to the university, so we asked him to marry us. So we were traditional, we didn't do this thing back then, and so he gives the wedding vows to look at. So we were looking at it. The first thing, she grabbed my pen, and it came to the sentence, I will be submissive. Foosh! I thought she was going to tear the page off. Okay, that one was out, and that's how we started. Okay, then there's the ice cream story. Well, if you knew Marti, she had a sweet tooth. She loved ice cream, especially coffee ice cream. And at that time, I was quite thin. And that was the only time when she got pregnant, our secret, she weighed more than I did. Okay, she got big. Well, I would go into the freezer, and I'd look in the freezer, and there would be a pint can of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And every night it would be there. And I said, Marti, that is amazing. Until I would take the trash out, and I would see 10 to 12 empty cartons of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And I brought them back. I said, what's going on? And she looked at me and said, oops. Okay. The next one was something that Brooke and her got up. They put on for my 40th birthday at our home a Great Gatsby whodunit mystery. So I pull up, like, on my birthday, not thinking anything of it, but all of a sudden the door boats open, and here's my friends dressed in tuxes, and the ladies dressed in flapper outfits, and they had, what do they call it, the boas on their necks, all looking good, and the skirts flapping around, and the music started. And Bob, go upstairs, put your tux on. I go upstairs, put my tux on. And we're in the middle of this, and then Marti turned the tables on Brooke. About a half hour into this, and we're all trying to figure things out, 2 Redlands cop cars come up, fully blazing, lights on, and they come up with hands on holsters, and there's, where's Brooke Lawson? We all go, oh, what's happening? And they come up and they said, Brooke Lawson. Brooke comes, oh, what? And they say, put your hands behind your back. And they put her in handcuffs and whisked her away. And she goes, this is not part of the program. Yearly vacations to Lake Powell with our dear friends. Many trips to Mammoth. But sort of in concluding, as we got older, sleeping habits changed. We go to bed early and earlier, and especially this last couple months, we go into bed early and earlier. And so I would look over, I'd pat her, yeah, you're still there, that's good. And we'd get up at 3:30 or 4, I could feel her patting me sometimes. Then I would look over her, and I could see her cell phone was on one dark night at 4 in the morning. I said, Marti, what are you doing? And she says, put it down, and she says, Bob, I'm thinking about you. I said, well, that's good. And she said, no, you only have 7 to 8 years to live. I go, Marti, that's morbid. And she said, well, that's statistics, that's the truth. And I feel I'm going to heaven in a few short days. I said, that's not good either. And she says, well, I want to see you in heaven shortly. And you got to be a good boy, not a naughty boy. So Marti, in conclusion, I will really try to be a good boy, not a naughty boy. So Marti, goodbye for now, but not forever. You're a naughty boy who's trying to be a good boy. I love you now and love you forever.
kind of tall guys. All right, that works for me. Good afternoon. Family has asked me to describe sort of the career arc of Marti at Loma Linda, and so I'll try to do it justice. But as you've heard, it's a daunting task. She is a force of nature and a one of one. And so let me try to do justice. I first met her when I was a third-year medical student. She was a third-year resident, and awesome and kind of scary because she knew so much, but she was so kind and so encouraging. And I always loved that. And I didn't realize that just a few short years later, we would become members of the same transplant team and spend a lot of years working through things here at Loma Linda. Bob talked about the sojourn at Pittsburgh and St. Louis. And when she returned to Loma Linda, as is usual when the department was small, she did many tasks there at the beginning. She was the student clerkship director. She ran grand rounds for a number of years. And she joined the heart transplant team. And I see a lot of more seasoned citizens in the audience, but a lot of the younger generation, those more recent Marti admirers, don't realize that she spent 15 years on the heart transplant team. And just to give you a little context, Baby Faye the baboon into the baby was 1984. Baby Moses, the very first successful infant heart transplant in the history of the world, who's still alive and going to turn 40 here in a month, was 1985. She joined in 1987. I joined in 1989, and that's how I got to know her very well. It still seems crazy to me that 4 fairly young general pediatricians were put in charge of the heart transplant team, but that's sort of how it happened. Of course, Dr. Bailey was there. Of course, Dr. Razuk was there. Dr. Mark Busick, who joined us as the transplant cardiologist, was there. And of course, our amazing nursing coordinators, I'm sure several of you in the audience. Hi, Sharon. So, but the day-to-day care was in our hands. And I learned that Marti was a superb clinician and she had great clinical instincts. That's really important because we were sort of, I want to say making up as we went, but we were kind of making it up as we went because nobody else had ever done infant heart transplantation and had it be successful. 1991, we did 62 transplants, and it was just 20 patients in clinic Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and those days were pretty wild. They are also, she made important contributions to the early literature of pediatric heart transplantation, and it won't surprise you that her emphases were growth and development because that was such what she was into and what she became for her whole career. By the early 2000s, it became obvious, though, a lot of conversations with Marti and me, that she was being drawn to a new career trajectory. She always had a knack for connecting with people, and I think her most enduring legacy is how she was able to draw the Department of Pediatrics and Loma Linda at large out of our ivory towers to be more connected to our community and more effective as child and family advocates. The groundwork was laid before, but it became a formal reality when she started the first community outreach rotation in 2002 for our pediatric residents. And it's an enduring legacy that continues to this day. This is joined by a school-wide effort. Dr. Ayton will talk about it a little bit more as well, but this is what Dr. Tammy Schenkel, who was the Associate Dean of the medical school, said. When we first thought of changing the curriculum of the School of Medicine, one of our goals was to refocus on our roots, on what Loma Linda was all about, which included whole person care, spiritual care, service, and lifestyle medicine. Dr. Baum was integral in designing and leading our service and social determinants of health curriculum. She not only led PALS, the Policy, Advocacy, Leadership, and Service Certificate track, and I think you'll hear from some of her students in a little bit. She helped design experiences for every student to help increase their schools and awareness of the importance of serving and advocating to make our communities and patients better. Hundreds of Loma Linda medical students are more well-rounded in their understanding of the whole patient because of Marti's efforts. She was an active participant in many community and organized medicine initiatives. Just some examples. She was involved in the Children and Families Commission for San Bernardino. She was the medical consultant for the San Bernardino City and County Schools. She was the executive director of the Healthy Neighborhood Projects, president of the San Bernardino County Medical Society, member of the Board of Trustees for the California Medical Association, and as mentioned, a member of the Epic Health Systems, SDOH National Steering Committee. Marty and I often talked about what it might look like to truly practice the Loma Linda University motto, to make children whole. She understood less talk and more action. I believe her crowning achievement was her ability to create a convergence between assessing socioeconomic challenges our patients faced and then linking them to tangible methods of support. Marty recognized early on the value of SDOH movement, the social determinants or social drivers of health. She led the SDOH team at Loma Linda and was the driving force to implement the assessment of these factors, leveraging our electronic health record to capture this information for the healthcare team. But for Marty, capturing information about people's challenges was never enough. Based on her networking in the field of community health, she learned about a program called Help Me Grow. With a lot of work with our mission-dedicated team at Loma Linda and multiple community partnerships, and with generous funding from both first 5 of San Bernardino and Riverside counties, we developed our own version of Help Me Grow called Help Me Grow Inland Empire, focusing on children 0 to 5 years old. And it's been running about 10 years. And we're rolling out a version for the older children and for adults. These efforts are being highlighted this year. I don't know if you know this. They're being highlighted this year at the National Children's Hospital Association Annual Leadership Conference. I'm very proud of that, and I wish you could be there. This program completed the caring circle. It's one thing to care about something. It's another thing to do something about it. And we can no longer say, find out a family is hungry and say, well, good luck with that. I'm sure there's somebody who can help you. No, she helped create a system where that generated a consult to Help Me Grow IE, and then the whole team of Help Me Grow IE came around that family and found resources in their community as close to them as possible to provide tangible support. Megan Daly, the director of Help Me Grow IE, wanted me to be sure to share the tangible results of these programs. As Megan put it, Dr. Baum would be the first person to say it is a team effort. And while that may be true, it is also true that impact does not happen without visionary leadership. Dr. Baum was one of those rare leaders who held her influence and heart in equal measure. She aligned multidisciplinary departments to achieve real system changes while always respecting her colleagues in all positions and perspectives with her curious, engaged, warm, and caring approach to figuring it out. And the tangible results? 250,000 patients screened for SDOHs. 30,000 evaluations to Help Me Grow. 10,000 families who've been connected with community resources. And that's just the start. Such a distinguished career is often recognized by awards, and Marty has many. Examples include Children's Network Physician of the Year, First 5 San Bernardino Children's Champion Award, San Bernardino County Medical Society Award for outstanding contributions to the society and the community, and the Loma Linda University School of Medicine's Distinguished Academic Award. The admiration of one's peers is likely even more important for her, and these are just a few of the many comments that came in reply to when Dr. Chan, our department chair, announced her passing. Quote, "Even when I was a student, I recognized not only her influence in the community, but her presence. She was boots on the ground, and I was able to see the different aspects of her work grow over time." Another, "There are ongoing community kids connection projects in music, sports, mentorship to homeless or pregnant youth. Many of these projects are reaching 10 and 20 years old now." Sustainability was an important aspect for her. Next, yet by far my favorite memory of Marty was when I told her that we were awarded a grant that we had applied for. She was, I get to see her doing this. She was in clinic and she literally had to step out so that she could scream with delight. Right? Can't you see her doing that? Her friendliness, enthusiasm, and energy were contagious. She lit up a room when she walked in. Another, I'm so grateful that she taught me and so many other pediatricians in the world to be advocates and to think big picture for every child in front of us. And lastly, Dr. Baum, who is probably still yelling at me to call her Marty, is the reason I'm involved in Advocacy and the California Medical Association. She continually asked tough questions, challenged the status quo, and always strove to be more and do more. She was my attending at OGSACs, where I fell in love with exploring SDOHs before they were a thing. And yes, she was on it before they were a thing. She challenged me to think beyond medicine and to really look at the world around me. She leaves behind a legacy of greatness, and we will forever be in her debt. And just to end on a more personal note, Marty and I often talked about processes and politics and dreams and whole child care. And she would often come to my office and ask me to be sure she wasn't doing anything too wild. Okay, sometimes it was, but usually it was just wild enough, sort of good wild. I connected with her the Friday before she passed. She told me she was wearing down and that she believed she would see Jesus soon. Well, my dear friend, Jesus once told a parable about somebody, a servant who had lots of talents, and you surely did. And I'm sure Jesus says the same to you, as was said about the faithful servant in the parable in Matthew 25. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter the joy of thy Lord. Thank you.
Okay. Please bear with me because the person who I would have turned to proofread is no longer here. My mom was such a pillar in my life. Her words, advice, and actions are woven into my very being. Growing up, if something went wrong, after it was resolved, she would say, "What's the take home?" or "What did we learn?" And of course, as a teenager, I rolled my eyes. But today, now, I am so thankful for her voice as it's ingrained in me. I've summarized a list of the things she purposefully taught me, also the things she modeled and taught me with her actions. As Mom said, "Oh, Chelsea, you're my spirited one," or "You always call it as it is." So this list isn't all serious, it's a little bit playful. As I read the list of 20 short statements, I encourage you to think and reflect if you have also learned these from her as well. She was a strong advocate for eating healthy. Growing up, every dinner had to include 2 vegetables, and no, much to my chagrin, a salad did not count. Food was medicine, but as my dad said, so was ice cream. Alo Manu and Haagen-Dazs were staples for movie nights or treats after a long day of chores or organizing our rooms or a cozy day after skiing, and hot fudge was a must. Number 3, if you saw something beautiful in a store and it wasn't quite right, if it was the wrong size, too long, missing sleeves, it wasn't a no. You bought it anyways, and you hemmed it, added sleeves, completely dismantled it, but you make it your own. An example of this is when I couldn't find the bridesmaids' dresses for my wedding in the right color of maroon. She spent hours over the stove mixing and concocting the perfect custom dye to dye all of my bridesmaids' dresses. Number 4, she taught me apples and popcorn with brewer's yeast at the Brockmans was the ultimate Saturday night tradition for a house full of rambunctious kids. She taught me to always listen first and take a breath before reacting. I love that summers didn't officially begin until Gammy went and got strawberries from that special stand out in Mentone. She brought it back, my mom would make shortcake, and she would serve it with fresh whipped cream. And none of that store-bought stuff, fresh whipped cream. And while making it, if you accidentally use salt instead of sugar, and it tastes horribly, you laugh it off. Like my dad said, she loved to laugh at herself, and that particular cackle and that laugh was amazing. She taught me Sundays were not for fancy outings. They were for waking up, putting on your gardening hat and boots, and wandering the yards with your hand in the dirt. Which is funny because we all know she had dressed impeccably during the week. I mean, she's got the best wardrobe. But Sundays had a special, terrible wardrobe that not many got to see. I will miss pulling up to the driveway and seeing that oversized, bright red School of Medicine sweatshirt, purple exercise leggings, a ridiculous big hat, and my dad's galoshes as she's tromping around the yard, planting plants or picking oranges. As listed earlier, she taught the importance of connecting people. If someone in your community was in need, you step up. And if you can't help directly, she taught us to tap into resources or friends to find someone who could. She had an incredible gift for sensing when someone was struggling. Number 9, your voice and your character are the strongest things you have. So speak up when something feels wrong. It's your duty. Number 10, women can do everything men can do. And as my dad said, actually, women can do more because they can do all that and have babies. That was the household we were raised in. Number 11, she displayed an unwavering work ethic, as was just listed. Whether at work or making flowers for a beloved friend's wedding, or even with her family, her energy inspired those around her. She showed me hard work wasn't something she did, it's who she was. Number 12, when you raise your kids with an abundance of patience and love and respect, they grow up to be the best of friends. Number 13, create a little community for your young kids. Those family friends, like the Lawsons, will become lifelong bonus siblings. Number 14, treat everyone with kindness and show up with grace. Number 15, I literally have heard this one 1,000 times, always take the high road. 16, although her brain ran a mile a minute, she also enjoyed the calm. As a creative soul, she took the time to point out to us kids the beauty in the smallest things, the soft pastel hues of the mountains on a road trip up to Mammoth, or the gentle ripples on the water at Lake Powell. Her eye caught everything. Number 17, dance at every wedding, even if it's one song and even if you're offbeat. 18, she taught me the importance of giving the gift of time and acts of service. She tried to give everything to the people around her. Even with a packed workday, she found time between meetings at the university or at the San Bernardino Medical Society or spending time with my grandma to answer calls from all 4 of her kids. She would Zoom over to my house between meetings and help me with house projects or paint my baby's nursery, and she did this all while fighting through chemo, nausea, and pain. I distinctly remember her coming over to my house in the midst of a last-minute bathroom renovation when I was 37 weeks pregnant. My bathroom was a complete disaster with demo and 2x4s exposed, dust everywhere, and she's still ongoing chemo treatment. She comes into my construction site in her business pants, the cutest pointy-toe little flats, a polka dot puff sleeve shirt, and she stands in my bathtub holding up tile as we hemmed and hawed which one to choose. And then she zoomed off to some important meeting. So she gave, and she always gave 100%. Number 19, she taught me that moms do not have to sit on the sidelines. As a young child, she was in the blizzards on the ski mountain, coaxing me down with M&Ms to get down the hill. She was in the water for hours, bobbing with a life jacket, holding us as we learned to slalom ski. And praise to all the parents who have ever taught a kid to slalom ski. It's pretty painful. Even during cancer treatment, she got on the floor to tummy time with my son Levi and sledded down the backyard hill at Mammoth with my son Ashton and made Halloween costumes with Savea and Everett. She may have misplaced her phone or her keys 3 times a day, but she never missed the chance to really connect with people on topics that really mattered. So if you resonate with any part of this list, which I think we all do, we all carry a small piece of those take-homes in our heart because of Marti.
I've tried to write this tribute so many times, and I kept getting stuck. It doesn't feel real yet. Right now, it just feels like a really long time since we've chatted, like one of us is on a big trip somewhere. So I wrote my mom a letter about what I've been thinking about the past couple weeks. Hey, Mom. Man, we cannot seem to chat. We just keep missing each other, and I have wanted to share so much with you. First, I'm realizing how much I just really enjoy talking to you about the little things, updates on Ev's lacrosse or Savea's ice skating, my work, quick chats on a drive, or just our random thoughts on life. You are one of the best listeners and encouragers. My whole life, you have listened, been curious, and also encouraged. Mainly, at least to me, it was encouragement to think a bit outside the box and be a little braver. You encouraged me to dream bigger, take the risk, try out for the team, wear the fun outfit, go on the adventure, or take the harder class. You always believed me more capable than I thought myself to be. And I don't think that's just how you interact with me. I think it's your inherent posture towards others. You believe in all of us, seeing us all as more capable than we see ourselves, particularly when the dream we are chasing serves others. And at the same time that you encourage and believe in us, you also remind us that it's going to take a lot of hard work, time, mistakes, and also likely asking for help. I suspect this is the other half of the power of your encouragement. And man, you are a great person to make a mistake with. You don't minimize it or pretend it didn't happen, but you would also help me put it into perspective. Remind me that most things are a blip on the radar of life. You would remind me that it's also likely I will mess up, and kind of rather expected, because I'm human, and because if one is trying new things, there's no way to be perfect at it. Some things you figure out as you go along, or you try a certain way, it doesn't work, and then you ask for help. And then you get up and keep trying again and again. But at its core, you always encourage me to never let the ideal of perfection or fear of mistakes stop me from stepping out. And I see you encourage this same fearlessness in others. Now, this rather stubborn encouragement may have led us astray a few times, like the time we had a push-up challenge between Chelsea, you, and myself. And you did the push-up, got into position, and went all the way down. And stayed down, laying on your face, laughing hysterically. We asked you later why you continued to lay face down on the ground laughing, and you told us you just kept thinking at some point you would push yourself up. Lastly, in this encouragement and willingness to try, you encouraged me to live a life connected to others, be that in community, friends, with family, at work. Just show up and find a way to meet others and serve them. And even better if you can give a platform or a voice to others who don't have one. Mom, let's really chat. Call me. I'll look forward to hearing your voice, probably taking a pause mid-conversation while you order your Starbucks on the way to a meeting, ordering your quad shot grande latte, hazelnut with oat milk, lava hot. But until then, your voice is in my head. And I am so thankful it is a voice of kindness, wisdom, and encouragement.
When starting to write this, I struggled how to express what she meant to me in such a relatively short talk. She was the centerpiece of our family, all the cliche things, the backbone, the North Star, the one who showed the greatest strength and compassion. Through this extremely hard time, I've seen so many amazing qualities come out of my family. I see her through them in their caring, organization, love, awareness, respect, and selflessness. These are just a start of the qualities my mother had that impacted our lives. Everyone sitting here knows my mom by a multitude of names or accolades: sister, daughter, mopsy, confidant, leader, professor, friend, Dr. Baum, representative, artist, advocate. She enjoyed wearing all the hats, and you know she thoroughly enjoyed curating an outfit figuratively and literally to go with each one of them. To me, she has always been and always will be Mom, or some variation. My siblings and I also refer to her as Mamacita, Mops, Sierra Madre, Mama, but never Marty. I tried that one time, and it did not go well. She redirected me quickly and said, "It is mom to you." When I was in elementary, the term mama's boy got thrown around. I fought back. In high school, it continued. I defended, but still denied. My 20s hit with much less, but now my response was more of an acceptance, advocating for it sometimes. Since my late 20s, she has been the person I brag the most about, and someone I truly consider one of my best friends. How lucky that she was my mom. Circling back, how do I summarize this amazing person, this amazing woman, this amazing mother? I found myself with a very common theme. It's love. That's the core quality she exemplified. It's going to be a little bit hard, but I was not a walk in the park to raise. But she gave me this unconditional love and support. She told me countless times, "I love you forever and always." With that, in the same breath, she would also give me her opinion on what I should do. Because of this support, I often had the confidence that was unfounded. She was always there to pick up the pieces, and then when things didn't go as planned, often joking, how did I not calculate failure into my equation as a possibility? She loved so much. I'm going to give a few references of her love. First, she loved to laugh. Her laugh was beyond contagious. Ashley, we referenced the same story without even talking about it. But while there's other countless stories that we could use, I do still like this one in particular, just because it embodies her so well. A little bit more background detail. We were at a family holiday and decided to do a push-up competition. Again, unfounded confidence, I challenged my little brother, who was a block of muscle, to push-ups. We do not need to go over who won that one. It's hard to remember. But then it was my sister's and mom's time to try, and it didn't go so well. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, she laid there, like Ashley said. In her brain, it was mind over matter. She thought that success was the only option. She did not get one push-up in. But instead of being mad or frustrated or embarrassed, she laid there face down, elbows up in a push-up position, laughing. We all were laughing to the point of tears. Always driven and dedicated, but easy to laugh. Compassionate. She exemplified this every day. At work, she advocated for those who needed a voice. She loved it. She loved her patients, she loved her community, and she loved her colleagues. Her compassion most impacting to me was when I was struggling deeply and in one of my lowest moments, and she dropped everything. She specifically was going to a gala. She was going to get recognized for something that she had done that was amazing, and instead she just came home. She just talked with me for hours. We did this a lot. She loved being goal-oriented and accomplishing those goals. She admired that so much of Bappa. She taught us, if you start something, you finish it. The memory that comes to mind with this was I was in my 2nd year of medical school. She was taking time from her busy multitasking life and bringing me dinner like she did a couple times a week. This particular occasion, I was heated. Very hard to believe, but it is true. I felt the test was unfair, the material too much. She stayed and talked with me for roughly 10 minutes while I held the food and stood outside the car door and vented. Out of nowhere, she said, "That's enough," started rolling up the window, mid-sentence. Through a barely cracked window, she says, "You've complained enough. This won't help you pass your exam. If you still feel this passionate tomorrow, we can talk then," and drove off. Dumbfounded, I stood there, ultimately agreeing with her as I muttered back, which I learned from her as well, to study. Years later, she told me she cried the whole way home, not knowing if she had done the right thing. She did. I would have gone on for hours. She loved life. This is the hardest to qualify and quantify succinctly. The best way I can try to express it is she loved the process of life. If you knew my mom, you also knew her artistic side. She made countless flower arrangements for herself, friends, and events, clothing projects that ranged from Christmas pajamas for us to dresses made freehand without any patterns. She cultivated a beautiful home and life for us. She cared for and growing her garden. She built a home out of a house that was built closer to the Declaration of Independence than it is to modern builds. She loved seeing things blossom and come together, and she did this effortlessly, but we all know it was far from it. This passion is another reason why she was the best mother. Lastly, she loved relationships. She championed success wherever she went, but not to claim responsibility for herself, but instead to bask in the enjoyment of others' improvements and accomplishments. She put in time and effort with almost everyone who entered her life. She proudly talked about her friendships, family, and love of Jesus. She often would say that Jesus was not this being who was to be admired from a distance. He was her friend. She talked with him the same way she would talk with a high school pal or a trusted confidant. Her face glowed whenever her grandkids were around her and added an extra pep in her step. When she was surrounded by them, she seemed to always have this calmness, smile, and happy, and be in her happiest of places. Mom, I will love you forever and always. Our countless hours of chatting, discussing, arguing, and agreeing have not come to an end, but instead I will continue on telling myself and others of your words of advice, support, love, and encouragement. Love you so much, Mom.
Hello. The first time I met Dr. Marti Baum, she was taking a short break from interviews for the Medical Society Executive Director position, a role for which I was a candidate. As I waited in the conference room, she walked in wearing an adorable skirt and top set with her trademark flats, not realizing I was already there. True to form, she greeted me warmly and made a lighthearted joke about needing to stretch. In that moment, I knew she would be an incredible boss. Fortunately, I got the job the next day. Dr. Baum had just been sworn in as president of the San Bernardino County Medical Society in June 2015. From the start, she threw herself into the role with passion and purpose. She initiated strategy sessions with my colleagues and me to grow membership through Loma Linda University. And over the next year and beyond, she flourished in her leadership, growing into the role more than I think she even anticipated. Soon after, she ran for the trustee position for the California Medical Association, CMA House of Delegates, representing District 2, and of course, she won. She went on to represent physicians from both San Bernardino and Riverside counties for 3 consecutive terms over 9 years. Dr. Baum was a dynamic and intelligent leader, never satisfied with the status quo. Every project she touched was elevated by her vision and drive. She never suffered from mouse-in-pocket syndrome, that tendency to say, we should do this, while expecting someone else to execute the idea. Instead, she led from the front, launching research initiatives, recruiting volunteers, tracking data, and following up meticulously. Her hands-on approach was a key reason she achieved such transformational results in children's health care and community well-being. One of my favorite memories was an evening when my colleagues, Janice, Soteria, Debbie, and I were helping Dr. Baum prepare a video for a meeting the next day. One technical issue after another kept cropping up, and the evening stretched past midnight. At one point, we all changed into casual clothes, and for months afterwards, we laughed about our impromptu pajama party. Despite the chaos, the video turned out beautifully and was a hit at the meeting. Dr. Baum's leadership continued to expand as she took on passion projects aimed at strengthening the systems that make healthcare possible. In 2016, she launched the Medical Society's White Coat Spring Break Job Shadow Program in partnership with Reach Out. Now in its 10th year, the program has grown to include summer cohorts and continues to thrive. Dr. Baum's contributions to the Medical Society and community include member of SBCMS and CMA for 35 years, SBCMS President of the Board 2015 to 2016, CMA District 2 Trustee for the House of Delegates 2016 through 2025. Member of the California Surgeon General, Dr. Diana Ramos, Trauma-Informed Primary Care, TIPC, Implementation Advisory Committee for ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Recipient of the Merlin A. Hendrickson MD Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Community in 2008 through the Medical Society. Recipient of the Nicholas P. Krikis MD Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Medical Society in 2018. Co-chair, School Nurse Physician Collaborative, San Bernardino County. Leader in the SBCMS efforts to participate with gusto in the annual CMA Legislative Day conferences, coordinating dozens of medical students and residents over the past decade for meetings with state senators and assembly members. Leader of PALS, as noted earlier, including linking it to the role of organized medicine and the inclusion of the Medical Society in that process in certifying her students. And a trusted voice for physicians and patients, linking local advocacy to state-level policy advancement. Dr. Baum embodied both grace and grit. She was judicious but never judgmental. I never saw her lose her composure, yet she always communicated with honesty and conviction. As a physician champion and advocate for children and families, she fought tirelessly for equitable access to quality health care. She embodies the definition of change agent. She had a remarkable ability to command a room without ever being intimidated. Her presence instilled confidence and optimism in everyone around her. Above all, she was kind, generous, and compassionate. Dr. Baum dedicated her life to building resilience in youth, especially those affected by trauma. Equity was her guiding principle, and her legacy will be remembered for her unwavering advocacy for children's health, her powerful voice for justice, and her lifelong commitment to service. I'm deeply grateful for her mentorship and profound impact she had on my life and on the Medical Society, which she helped steer towards a new era of success and support. In honor of Dr. Marti Baum's legacy, her devoted husband, Dr. Bob Hardesty, has generously established a scholarship fund in her name through the San Bernardino County Medical Society. We are deeply grateful for the support already received from so many of you. Contributions that will be awarded annually to a deserving member of the medical or lay community during our annual installation of officers ceremony. The Dr. Marti Baum Hardesty MD Memorial Fund stands as a living tribute to Dr. Baum's unwavering dedication to patient care, community health, and physician leadership. This annual scholarship will support individuals who share her passion for service and her commitment to making a lasting impact. To learn more or to contribute, please visit our website at sbcems.org/advocacy/programs. Incidentally, today, I'm wearing a mother-of-pearl necklace depicting a lion, a symbol I chose to honor Dr. Baum. To me, she will always embody the strength, courage, power, and loyalty of the lion, and the wisdom, purity, elegance, and spiritual enlightenment of the pearl. And I smile even more knowing that if she were here today, we'd probably be chatting about the necklace itself and the fashion choice behind it. We love you, Dr. Baum. I feel your energy every minute of every day. Thank you for your lasting impact upon our hearts and our lives.
Dr. Baum made a lasting impression on a generation of doctors. My name's Amy Hayton. I'm one of the associate deans at the Loma School of Medicine, and I have some students who are going to share about those specific memories. I was one of her students. I met Dr. Baum my third year of medical school here on my pediatrics rotation. And I was part of that initial development of the Healthy Neighborhoods project that continues to this day in our San Bernardino community. In 2018, though, Dr. Baum and I began to dream of equipping future doctors with skills and empathy to address the social drivers of health along with the medical diagnoses. With the team, we brainstormed, created, implemented, revised, had to revise again, this curriculum that would make a difference with this new generation. We hoped that students would see beyond the lens into the patient's strengths and suffering in the context of their community. The creation of the social drivers of health simulation, teaching about upstream thinking, combining statistics, narrative, and skills into each class in order to reach each type of learner demonstrated her mastery in pedagogy. She was always up for making it better, always dug deeper. Let's do it better, Amy, she said. We didn't quite hit it. More relatable to students, with that aim of long-term learning, with those patients in mind. Getting to collaborate and dream with her was such an honor. She taught me so much. Seeing her courage to teach transformative topics, sometimes controversial, helping us transcend divides, to see that patient as the ultimate goal was inspiring. If you are here as an educator, a mentor, a fellow clinician, you know the way that Marti can make that impact. She models passion and determination that we can make a difference, and we can start now. If you were her student or resident, you were the recipient of this transformative education, and we encourage you to remember Dr. Baum when you address one of those social drivers, when you connect a patient with a resource, and you advocate for system and policy change. That same courage that Marti possessed to transform systems guided her through her illness, with an eye on Jesus as her friend, as many have said, and her co-creator. Her dream was that each doctor would be equipped with both heart and skills to see the one patient in front of them and create better systems that brought healing to communities. Her creativity, joy, innovation, and compassion will live on in our curriculum, our practice with our patients, our relationships with each other, for she embodied what it means to be a courageous healer.
Good afternoon. My name is Won-Ha Kim, and I want to briefly share about the Policy, Advocacy, Leadership, and Service, or PALS certificate track that many before us have mentioned, and the one that I had the pleasure and the privilege of co-leading with Marti since its creation. Always a champion of non-medical drivers of health, Dr. Baum wanted to encourage and equip students interested in becoming healthcare leaders that understand the whole picture. Since we welcomed the first cohort in March of 2020, we've had 51 medical students participate in the track and expand their ability to improve the health of our patients beyond the walls of the hospital or the clinic through quarterly meetings, summer research projects, senior elective time, capstone projects, and legislative visits to Sacramento, as Allison mentioned. Dr. Baum was inspirational to these students, and it was truly an honor to work with her. And we're going to hear from students in a bit.
My name is Tiffany Palmero, and I also was a medical student under Dr. Baum. I actually remember over 10, 15 years ago when she was introducing the Healthy Neighborhood projects to us. And she wanted us to learn more than just medical knowledge. She wanted us to go and serve and meet the patients that we will be working with through mentoring, through teaching music, academics, and those programs. Some of them are almost 20 years old now. I've come back now, and I've had the honor of working with Dr. Won-Ha Kim and Dr. Marti Baum. Her role in advocacy and community engagement has impacted so many, not just our local partners, but also these health professionals that get to continue and spread that flame. They brighten the corner after they leave these walls. I want to give this time to these current medical students, Brianna Egan and Tanis Buller, to share some of the stories.
Good afternoon. My name is Brianna Egan. I'm a fourth-year medical student here at Loma Linda. Dr. Baum was a dear mentor and a champion as I went through medical school. I first connected with her during my first year in the Transformative Healthcare Selective, and when I started on the PALS track. She had her hands in so many projects and was a wealth of knowledge, insight, and encouragement. In every interaction, she took the time to make me feel supported and seen, and she had a warmth and a glow that was so evident from her passion for health equity and engaging students in how these topics connect to our practice and to our faith. She consistently found ways to champion students and to support us in our interests and advocacy work. When we held a campus event on environmental health, she connected us with panelists from San Bernardino County Medical Society, and she stayed with us for the entire event. Though she didn't share with us directly about her illness, I remember that last year during a workshop that she taught, she shared that she had advocated for a health policy with one of the physicians who was treating her in the hospital. We were excited to go up to Sacramento with her and the PAL students this coming year, but this time she will be watching us from above. She lived and breathed community advocacy and leadership for her patients, students, and the Inland Empire community. As a medical student, you really come to value the faculty and the mentors who are in your corner, and she held that role for me and so many others. Dr. Baum made such an incredible impact throughout her life as a physician leader, and I know that we will hold her memory dear and champion forward her legacy, both in medicine and in the community.
I'm Tanner, and I'm a third-year medical student, or second year medical student here. Can't wait. I'm so proud of you. These were the words of Dr. Baum that she spoke to me during our last conversation together while we lingered long after the end of a PALS dinner. Dr. Baum had been my mentor for the last 2 years, helping my research team in our investigation of social determinants of health and how to best teach these concepts to new medical students. I'd like to say that this project was something I had figured out on my own and thought up with a brainchild that was like birthed from creative genius, but the truth was that when I had asked Dr. Baum about a question after religion, and she had said, you could do this. This could be your project for the next 4 years. And that was amazing because Dr. Baum had seen that I was the person for the job, that she saw that I had the curiosity and skills that I could take this project and that I could go beyond my comfort zone to achieve the potential that she knew that I had. 3 things that I learned from Dr. Baum since then. 1, those without a voice must never be forgotten. 2, you, yes you, are the one to give voice and justice to the forgotten or marginalized. And 3, your voice is more powerful than you know. Now this is the legacy Dr. Baum left to her students, to be agents of change, a voice for the forgotten. And even now, her words stay with me daily. I am proud of you. A precious reminder that our work is good and that we, not them, now, not later, are tasked to finish the works of our mentors and journey toward a healthy, more vibrant community for all.
Bob, your words about your beloved wife, Ashley, Bradford, Chelsea, and Derek, your words about your beloved mother were profoundly moving and honor her in a way that I think would make her deeply and deservedly proud. The Apostle Paul one time was asked about letters of recommendation to a place to which he was traveling. And referring to his friends in his congregation, he simply said, "You are my letter. You are my letter of recommendation." That's 5 letters that will resound for a very long time. Thank you. I'm privileged to serve on a committee here at LLUC that deals with social determinants of health. A committee that Marti chaired. I'm not always able to attend because it happens to conflict with another meeting that Richard Hart chairs. And I know what side my bread's buttered on. Honestly, the committee that I've been able to be on with Marti has been one in which I have learned so much and in which I came to deeply admire her heart, her clarity, her spirit. Her love of what she told me in the hospital was the real reason for which she went into medicine. I was on the meeting the last time she was there. I thought, she doesn't look good. She clicked off 2 or 3 times, and I later, in visiting with her, discovered she wasn't doing well. But it really gave a view into her commitment to those who most desperately need our care. I appreciated her deeply before that, but seeing that only served to deepen my regard for her. I had the wonderful privilege, and a privilege it was, of sitting by her bedside on several occasions as the sun was slipping into the west of her life. And we had some very meaningful conversations. Bob, you were there for some of those. Went in early one morning before others were visiting. We had, again, a deeply meaningful time. And on that occasion, she referred to something that we had spoken of the last time we were in that hospital room. It's something I'd like to share with you. It seemed to have some meaning for her. It has deep meaning for me. Possibly it might for you. Marti was in a storm that was threatening her life, a battle she was fighting and doing so valiantly, heroically, and though it may sound strange to say, beautifully. I listened to her and listened carefully during those times we visited, and just walked away each time struck with the depth of her commitment to her healing calling. But on that particular day, I said, Marti, do you mind if I share something with you? Something that I have found very meaningful. She was very open. So I shared with Marti this story from John's Gospel, the 6th chapter. I have to set just a bit of context. In this chapter, Jesus has declared himself the bread of life. He has fed the multitude. It's Passover time. It's night. There's a sea that must be crossed. Anyone who reads the story with any sense of the Old Testament narrative of the people of God in the background realizes this has Passover imagery all over it. This has the kind of imagery that was pointing toward the future and saying, there will come a time when God will act on your behalf, when you will truly be free. And yet now on this night, that seems impossible. When evening came, John writes, Jesus' disciples went down to the lake where they got into a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. By now it was dark and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing and the waters were rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water. And they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I. Don't be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. I think it's understandable that when we read that story 2,000 years later, our thoughts are first drawn to what we would consider to be a miracle, walking on the water. What is that about? A Messiah with power over nature, storm on the sea, disciples afraid, profound uncertainty, and Jesus comes to them. Passover is promising something to come. That was not full well understood. A Lamb of God. It was promising that this would not be the end of the story. And the waves beat against the boat. No doubt the thunder rolls and the lightning flashes, and their hearts pound with fear. The walking on the water piece, honestly, is not what grabs me, however, about the story. After all, setting it in the context of its world where there was little understanding of what was down there, many myths, many superstitions, some of them given some billing in Scripture, had led to an understanding that down there was evil. If nothing else, his walking on the water was saying, I have power over evil. I will subjugate it beneath my feet. Certainly that was there. But that's not the part that grips me. The part that really grips me is once he has talked to his disciples, once he has assured them, it is I. Don't be afraid. The last verse of that paragraph of the story says this: Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately, the boat reached the shore where they were heading. For some, it's a bit of a strange line. For a long time, I was not quite sure what to make of it. Another miracle? Power over nature? but coming to understand that John writes his gospel on a superficial level of reporting what happened and on a profound level that we continue to mine, giving us much deeper meaning. He does that here. Because what John is writing to his readers, what Jesus is saying to his disciples, is simply this: when Jesus arrives, you arrive. When Jesus arrives, you're at the destination. There is no other destination. We can quibble about physical spaces and earth and heaven and many other side issues. But the reality is, when Jesus steps into your boat, you have arrived. That is the destination. I find that deeply curious because a woman who had a lot to do with founding this place called Loma University, Ellen White, made a statement one time where she said, as through Jesus we enter into rest, heaven begins here. All that we can receive of the heavenly tomorrow begins here in Him. So we were at the new tower, hospital room, talking, and I just said, Marty, I think what John is saying to you here is that while the storm is blowing, while the wind is raging, while the lightning is flashing, while the thunder is rolling in your life, while there's uncertainty, you've already told me Jesus is your friend. She had told me that in a beautiful way of deep confidence. He's my friend. And then she said, is that wrong? Do I need something else? I said, Marty, you're at your destination. You may physically be in a different place at some point in time, but it's like being with the person you love the most. Wherever you are, you're at peace. I heard it in what her family shared. Brad, I heard it in what you shared in a special way. Just if Mom is here, then we're good. That's John's message about Jesus. So I walked into her room, was here at the church early, and thought it's a good morning to go see her. Before all the rush of the day begins, she was awake. I walked in, she said, good morning. She said, I've been thinking about Jesus in my boat, and I just feel so much peace. That has meant the world to me, that story. It seemed to be meaningful to her. Maybe it's meaningful to you at a time that we mourn the loss of a precious person. A person that is one for whom Jesus, I think, has special regard. And I say that based on another gospel writer who recorded the words of Jesus, if you have done it to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you have done it to me. Every parent in this place knows the best way for someone to get on our good side is to treat our children well. That's God. And Marty treated his children the least of them, well. So she arrived at her destination before she ever left. One day we'll see her. We'll be together. And we'll be home all over again. I can't wait for that day.
What an incredible celebration of life of my Auntie Marti. My mom wanted to recreate Auntie Marty's Circle Drive, and although it was arranged by Philip Warren and Jolene Hilliard, it was designed by my Auntie Marti. I say Auntie Marti because I too tried to call her Marty one time and immediately regretted it. I am who I am because of her. I snow ski, water ski, became a doctor, forced my children to play piano against their will, and am maybe a little bossy because of her. I love her, and I love her family like they are my own, because you are.
I need to take this opportunity to make some announcements before we end today. Everybody is welcome at the reception. The address is 1515 Cypress, and it's also in your program. Please use the Circle Drive for drop-offs only, and then park on the road. And if there is anybody who needs any special accommodations, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we can make those accommodations. Also, leave your memory card, drop it off before you leave, and if you need to, you can also drop it off at the reception as well. And I know you don't have to look very far to find someone whose life Auntie Marti touched, and I'm definitely one of those people, and I'm there. Since the moment I was born, she was in my life, and I feel like one of her children as well, and like family, and we love you guys. We'll do anything for you, and we're here for you.
Thank you all for being here. Your presence is such a blessing to the family. Thank you for your many calls and cards and thoughts and prayers, for the meals that you brought to the family, for checking on Bob to see how he's doing and how the kids are doing. And for those of you who left the little video message that Chelsea brilliantly made available to people, to leave that little video message. She listened to those over and over again. They meant so much to her. I was in the hospital with her, and I could hear one of the fellas saying, I think they were either medical students or residents, and they had gone over to the VA hospital, and he listened to her, how she was talking to the patients and talking to the child, and it so impressed him that, 45 years later, 40 years later, that is what he remembered about her. That was the essence of Marti, was the way she listened, the way she cared. It changed. He was just a student, but it changed his whole way of thinking about medicine and his profession, and that's what he remembered about her. I don't know who it was, but I could hear him talking. They really meant a lot to her, those little messages. And Bob stayed with her every night when she was in the hospital. For a whole month that she was there, he stayed with her every night. And I'm just, thank you for celebrating the life of my best friend. I'm Brooke, and I was born 12 days apart on the hill over here in Nickel Hall, I guess it was. And we went all 12 years at Loma Linda Academy together, and became best friends in our freshman year of high school. And thinking about what Pastor Randy was saying, that day that he listened in on her meeting, I was at her house, and she goes, "Brooke, you need to take me to my office." "What? For what?" "I have to chair a meeting today." And I said, "Well, do it from here, do it from your house." And she goes, "No, I need to go to the office." She hadn't been downstairs in a week, and I said, "Well, I don't see how we can do it." So I got a couple of the workmen that were there, and they helped her down the stairs. I pulled up the car, put her in the car. We went over to the Clark's Plaza over there, and I pulled up as close as I could and to her office, and there's this little breezeway that goes in, and I went and I saw two guys walking by. I said, "Oh, could you help me get my friend? She needs to get into her office here." And they said, "Well," and I said, "Thank you." And so I brought him there, and we got her out of the car, and they helped her up the stairs into her office. I had gone around and opened all the doors. And then when she had that meeting that Randy was referring to, I said, "Well, I didn't see anybody around to help me." So I pulled my car up through the breezeway up to where the stairs were, and I couldn't go any farther. And I opened the door, and I got a chair and brought it down, and so she walked out her office, down and sat on the chair a minute, got her into her car, and that night she went into the hospital, and that was where she spent a month. But she was that determined to, have that meeting and keep working. I think she had just applied for another grant that she got a week or so before that. But we went all 12 years to Loma Linda Academy, and then when she came back to Loma Linda, we had the good fortune of raising our kids together, and they are precious to me. And getting to meet the Brockmans in Cradle Roll is where I think I got to know Susie and the family, and what a blessing they have been to both of our families, and all the fun times we've had, barbecues around their pool, and swimming lessons. My kids learned to swim at Brockman's house, and river trips, and how special that our families have been together, and the Christmas pageants. I decided we should have a Christmas pageant, and I wrote out a little script, and all the kids were Mary and Joseph, and she made these gorgeous costumes for the wise men. And everybody wanted to be something until they saw those costumes, and then that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to be a wise man because they were glorious little costumes. And we had our little Christmas pageants until the kids got so old that they were playing instruments, and they had a little orchestra and completely filled up Susie's house with, music, and it was so wonderful. When we were in Academy, Gary Stanheiser had invited us kids to go with him into the communities nearby, and we did things with the kids there. We sang songs, we told stories, we did skits, and we did a lot of crafts. And Gary Stanheiser was so impressed with Marti that he said, "Next summer, I'd like you to be in charge of all of the crafts." And so she did. The next summer, I think it was our sophomore year then, and she got together and thought about all the crafts that we would do every week when we would go over and be with the kids. And at the end of that, she says, she told her dad, I'm going to be an art major. "Oh, okay. You can go ahead and be an art major. That's great. But you have to take all the sciences too." So she was taking all the sciences and all the art classes she could. She was over 20 credits a unit or quarter. And then she went on a rotation with Bruce Branson, Dr. Bruce Branson, and she decided, wow, this is really something. I think I can have more of an impact if I'm a physician and then do my crafting on my own time. So that's what she did. And she could designed her own clothes, her kids' clothes, her home. There's just nothing that woman couldn't do. But that was a pivotal point in her life, when she was making working with the kids like that. And she knew that that is what she wanted to do. She asked her father one day, she goes, now, why didn't you do this or that? And he said, well, that would hurt my friend Jesus. I would never want to do that. And that is how she saw Jesus, was as her friend. And she was doing so many things in her career, and she saw it as doing these things with Jesus, helping the community, working with students, that she and Jesus were doing these things together. And she felt sad because she had so much more that she had to do. There was so much more they were going to do together that she didn't get to finish. But, I can't think of Marti without thinking about her garden. She loved her garden. And in fact, it was one of the first things she did when they moved to the Cypress house. I see pictures. I've been going through pictures, and there were these garden boxes that she made. And it's one of the last things she did. In March, she planted her vegetable garden. And that garden is still making vegetables for her family and feeding her family. So if you're there today, go and pick a cherry tomato and dust it off and pop it into your mouth. It's really delicious. And when I think of her, I think of flowers. And she did flowers for weddings, for baby showers, for any occasion. Her home is surrounded by flowers. And I asked her, I said, what do you think heaven is going to be like? What are you looking forward to? And she was saying that what she looked forward to was walking arm in arm with Jesus through his garden. And it's what makes me think of this song. I come to the garden alone, and the voice I hear falling on my ear is the Son of God. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
After the closing prayer, a song will play that Bob has found deeply, or he has deeply appreciated in his own life in light of what we talked about in John's Gospel. It's a secular song, but with a deep religious and spiritual meaning. So I invite you to ponder the realities of that story as you take in the song. And then Bob has asked Chemo not only to play the organ, but to shake the pews. So we invite you to stay while Chemo plays. And finally, if you would be so kind as to remain seated and allow the family to exit. They look forward to meeting you and talking with you at their home. If that begins here, we'll never get to their home. So kindly allow them to exit. Pray with me. God of grace, we are so thankful that you are a God of grace because you pour gifts into our lives. One of the gifts was this daughter of yours named Marti Baum Hardesty. We thank you for her life, a life well lived, a life lived in the service of others. We confess to, at times, a profound perplexity as to some of the twists and turns that life on this globe takes. But in the storm, you are with us. I pray for this family that through the hearts and the hands and the ears of those around them, they may find your comfort and your healing. May the day come soon when we find reunion in the presence of Jesus. In his name, amen.
I am sailing home again, across the sea. I am sailing, storm